Hello, friends. This is Professor Guglov. On my channel, you mostly watch videos about the beautiful world around us. But today, it's a little different. What is it about? Keep watching to find out. Prison. The first stalker we want to tell you about is a guy named Jay, who traveled through New Orleans. The city was devastated by Hurricane Katrina in 2000. When the hurricane hit, most people fled or took shelter, but in this facility, the inmates were simply left to fate. Jay visited the Orleans Parish Prison, where its inhabitants were cut off from the outside world. According to the stalker, 617 prisoners were left without ventilation, food, and water, locked in their cells. Some cells even filled with water, reaching people's necks. Some criminals managed to break open their cell doors and escape to the rooftop, where they wrote, SOS. Food. After the chaos subsided, the prison was missing over 500 inmates. In 2012, the prison was closed, but reminders of this story can still be seen in the building. Jay experienced a whole range of emotions in this prison. There was a cell block and a medical center in the prison. In the gym, Jay trained with a punching bag that started falling apart before his eyes. When he went upstairs, the most horrifying part of his journey began. Here, abandoned inmates were waiting to be rescued, but no one came to help them. The words, SOS, and, food, written on the wall look very frightening. The haunted house with a ghost cave. And these are the shots taken by a stalker named Cappy. She captures a house that looks like a haunted house. The plot becomes intriguing when she discovers a cave beneath the house. And like any good stalker, she decides to descend into this terrifying cave. There, Cappy discovers that the rocks are covered in moss, and a horrible smell emanates from the cave. She looked down and saw water. Cappy joked that she should have brought a metal detector, as she thought there might be something interesting below. In the end, Cappy reached a dead end in the cave. There was a lot of water, as if several streams were passing beneath the house. The underground cave and the stream looked very suspicious, but the commentator in the video gave a simple explanation for this. He said it's a common practice to build a house above a spring and let it flow through the basement. This way, the basement will be cooler, food will last longer, and there will be a safe source of water. Japanese Wild West Village. Just as many Westerners are obsessed with anime and martial arts films, the Japanese have an obsession with cowboys and the Wild West. In the 1970s, an amusement park called Wild West was opened in Japan. Here, you could experience being a real cowboy, riding horses, learning archery, and fishing. Over time, this place turned into a full-fledged theme park, but in the mid-2000s, it lost its popularity. No one in Japan wanted to be a cowboy anymore. Ticket prices were reduced, but it didn't help. Today, Wild West Village stands abandoned for almost 15 years. Stalker Mika Moore decided to take a look at the park. It has everything you would want to see in a Western village. Saloons, churches, sheriff's offices, cowboy-themed arcade games, and a shooting range. It's a true journey into the past, 20 years ago. Soviet reusable spacecraft Buran. When Yuri Gagarin made his journey into space, it became a great day for humanity. This moment was particularly significant for the USSR, which surpassed America in the so-called space race. Both the USA and the USSR were desperate to be the first to orbit the Earth and demonstrate their superiority. However, after the collapse of the USSR, the space industry went into decline. That's why in an hangar in Kazakhstan, which was once part of the Soviet Union, you can find the abandoned spacecraft Buran. The Urban Explorer channel set out to see what it looks like today. They had to drive all night, trying not to get caught. Soon they found the hangar and climbed inside. Buran looked old and worn on the outside, but inside, it was still brand new. The spacecraft was built to fly in space, so it could withstand even the most extreme conditions. 30 years inside the hangar in Kazakhstan had not greatly affected Buran's internal condition. It made only one flight in November 1988. A year later, the Berlin Wall fell, and then the Soviet Union collapsed. The newly independent state of Kazakhstan received a reusable transport spacecraft but didn't know what to do with it. So, Kazakhstan simply left it in the hangar. Buran, which could have been the most iconic spacecraft of all time, is now decaying in an abandoned complex. The Door in the Mountain. Our next stalker came from the Red Midi channel. He walks through the mountain and reaches a board that leads to a door. When the stalker reaches the cave, he sees warning signs that say, "Be careful." But these signs usually only further excite stalkers. It looks as if the mountain is a building, and this is the entrance inside. In 1822, General Henri Dufour visited this cave, which is called Shefok. In translation, it means sheep's den. Before World War II, the Swiss army built this bunker in the cave, installing reinforced concrete walls, iron doors, and embrasures. The bunker was not used and is currently open to tourists. You probably know that during World War II, Switzerland chose a neutral side, partly because the Swiss were very well protected. They were so well prepared for the war that no one dared to invade the country, including Hitler. This hidden bunker is a reminder that the Swiss are a friendly people but are always ready to defend themselves when necessary. Abandoned Rothschild Mansion. You probably recognize this abandoned mansion. It can be seen in the movies Batman Begins, Eyes Wide Shut, and Brazil. In Christopher Nolan's film, this house served as Bruce Wayne's mansion. There were probably queues of people who wanted to live in Batman's house. But in reality, it is uninhabitable as it is abandoned. This 19th century structure belongs to Baron Rothschild, an English businessman and member of the Rothschild family, who pioneered modern banking. During World War II, this house served as a hiding place for works of art and valuable possessions belonging to the royal family. Stalker Wekant Haven decided to explore the mansion. He sneaked through the trees to avoid being noticed in case someone was inside the mansion. Inside, the building is in a sad state. You can see rooms with furniture and things scattered everywhere. Numerous beautiful paintings are simply standing or hanging on the walls. Like the haunted house we saw earlier, this is another amazing structure that has been abandoned and left to decay. Abandoned shopping mall. Our next discovery can be found in any corner of the USA. It looks like scenes from horror movies or zombie movies. Here's what a stalker named Urbex Off Limits discovered. He decided to explore an abandoned Mexican restaurant at night. The young man hears a loud noise and realizes it's the buzzing neon lights. The shopping mall looks as if it was closed just yesterday. The stalker sees a store with greeting cards that will never be given to anyone again. Someone commented under the video, "Sad to see a shopping mall that used to be visited by hundreds of people every day now standing forgotten by all." The COVID-19 pandemic is sometimes referred to as a retail apocalypse because it severely hit retail businesses. At first, merchants lost their businesses because people were reluctant to leave their homes. Then came the quarantine. People were simply not allowed into stores. As a result, shoppers started shifting to online stores, and shopping malls lost a lot of money. And this trend continues. It is expected that even more shopping malls will be closed worldwide. Abandoned city. We've seen abandoned houses and even abandoned shopping malls. But how about an entire abandoned city? Welcome to Ocean Falls in British Columbia, Canada. If you ever want to come here, you'll need to take a boat or a float plane. For thousands of years, the indigenous peoples of Bella Bella and Katasu lived here, the original inhabitants of Canada with their unique language and culture. But in the early 20th century, European settlers encroached on this area. Soon, large companies began extracting natural resources, and a small town emerged here. By the 1970s, these companies had extracted everything they could, and the enterprises closed down. Most residents became unemployed, setting off a domino effect. Restaurant and store owners lost customers. Eventually, everyone abandoned the city. Stalker Life of Flux visited this abandoned city. He explored the largest hotel with 400 rooms, which had been vacant for about 50 years. The man visited the ballroom and walked through empty streets where dilapidated houses covered in grass and weeds stood. Friends, don't hesitate to write comments under the video about what else you would like to learn. I will definitely fulfill your wish. Bye for now.